What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the XRP price chart, talking about price structure, price behavior, my speculations on where I think the price of XRP could go to, and what's going on in the market right now for XRP. No question, we are in a pretty boring time period here for the XRP price chart. We've been holding the lows ever since June when the stock market had its sell-off, and we also subsequently had the Luna UST collapse followed by Celsius 3 Arrows Capital. All that good stuff. Survived that moment through the FTX collapse, still being able to hold those June lows, but running sideways here the whole time. Having been in XRP for several years and going through multiple bullish time periods and bearish time periods, there's one thing I know. This is how we spend the majority of our time. XRP is typically extremely boring until something suddenly happens and we get big moves that happen quickly and then they're completely over. Every single impulse that we have, this is exactly how they always operate. They're quick-lived and then boom, they're over every single time. To help visualize this, I can color coordinate the moments that we have big moves followed by the boring periods, the torturous periods afterwards to show how often that actually occurs on XRP. People have to get frustrated and tired, and I totally understand that. But when we look back through how XRP has operated throughout history, we could see the vast majority of the time is spent just like this, and that whenever there is a move that happens in XRP, these things are short-lived from a time perspective. Otherwise, for the rest of time, we are just boring. And then there's these quick impulses that end up happening. That's often a frustrating point because a lot of coins will kind of trend or grind their way up, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum, whereas XRP kind of makes you doubt it for forever. Then suddenly an exciting moment comes, everybody's YOLOing, everybody's excited, and then boom, that moment is completely over and we're right back into one of these things all over again. And it happens every time. There's no time periods on here where it is just in a grind to the upside. It is always torture, boom, torture, boom, torture. And just we're living in that moment again right now. And it's a lot easier to see how long you spend in these when you actually kind of color coordinate them to see, all right, there's a lot of chop and you're moving up in here, but to understand what is it like to look at the charts every day, most of the time it's this. But then there's the occasional moments where things move up really quick. So just kind of food for thought for anybody who is just like, why won't it move? I've often argued that, the SEC is wrong in regards to thinking that XRP moves based on Ripple's efforts. The charts do prove otherwise, that XRP does move with the rest of the market when the conditions are appropriate. We'll kind of go through that today. So my thoughts are that the SEC is totally wrong because the charts really prove that XRP just moves when the rest of the market is moving. But that also means that I'm in the belief that a lot of the narratives that we have here of OMG, look at this new partnership, it's going to be all the money, it's going to take over all the world, all those narratives, I don't believe in those either. And so I'm going to show on this video, my mindset when it comes to XRP, how my thoughts work with it, the prices that I'm looking for, that I'm hoping that we can eventually get to one day, and why I believe in those, and why this is really the only data that I can rely on. I can't, if you know me, man, with narratives and all that stuff, I can't sit here and try to guess the narratives and then extrapolate a value or a price based on any type of narratives. I can only go based on the past and the behavior of the cryptocurrency market and how it's worked before to make my best guess. It's got to be backed up with some type of data to at least say, here's my argument and here's why. My argument can't be, I think XRP is going to $10,000 because it's going to take over the world and there's all these secret governments that are working to use it. That is not reliable data. It makes really good videos and fantasies, but it's not reliable data. The only thing I can do is look to how has XRP behaved in the past and what were the conditions of when XRP's price did move. And what we will notice is that XRP's price does move at particular times within market cycles in the cryptocurrency market. And those are really the only times that big things do happen. That does shatter a lot of dreams. I understand that, but that's not my point here. My point is to show I believe in this particular price that we could get to here. That's as high as I think we could go, but I do think it's logical that we could actually get there. And I'm going to show you the data on why I think that is. Will it be right? We'll all find out together. whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. The point of me doing these things is to show you exactly how I get there. That's what I've always tried to do with my YouTube channel, is to be like, hey, this is a price I think we can go to. Here's the argument for why. It's never that I have secret indicator, proprietary quantum regressional super bands that only I know the code to that will tell me how we're going to get there. It's usually very simple stuff, and a lot of times it does work. Like here on the chart, I've got Bitcoin here in the actual candlesticks. I have the altcoin market here in yellow. I have Ethereum down here in orange, and I have XRP in purple. One of the very simple things that we did during the bear market and into the bull market was like for Bitcoin saying, hey, 4.236 extension, this is your typical crash, retrace, reaccumulation. 4.236 extension, that's it. One thing to remember with narratives is what was happening with narratives up here at this time. You had Tesla, you had Elon Musk, you had euphoria, you had inflation, you had the Fed saying they weren't even thinking about raising interest rates. Still, that ended up being the top due to technical behavior. The same was true for Ethereum down here in the orange, is that Ethereum actually, crashed and then went off and hit a 4.236 extension. I completed my exit plan on Ethereum on the day of the literal top merely because we had reached full extensions. It blows my mind how these things work, whether there's bots, algorithms, hedge funds all watching this stuff. And then once you reach there, that's when they all say, that's it, we're all done. And then they pull all the liquidity out. How it works, I'm not really sure. It's a little scary, but talked about it for years leading up to it. And that's how we got there, right? It didn't matter how good the narrative got. That is the price that we were able to reach out to. It's what these market caps were able to reach out to. So for several years, my argument has been that's what would happen to the number one digital asset in the market, Bitcoin. That's what would happen to the number two digital asset in the cryptocurrency market, Ethereum. And that's what would happen to number three in the cryptocurrency market, XRP. However, XRP, unlike Bitcoin, unlike Ethereum, did not go off into a new all-time high. But if we were to assume that still there is a 4.236 extension in XRP's future, that gets you somewhere up there around a $500 billion market cap. Sounds crazy, but we've definitely seen those numbers over here for Ethereum in the past. And my personal thoughts are that is the absolute pico top of how high XRP could go. And so for the rest of this video, I'm going to present the arguments on why that is. Many of you have seen some of these things before, but it's been a little while since we've talked about XRP, and there hasn't been much to say about the XRP price chart as we wait for prices to move and as we wait for the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit to come to a conclusion. But regardless of the conclusion, regardless of the narrative, regardless of anything that we theorize or all the money or buybacks or whatever kind of stuff we want to come up with, that is my personal opinion on the absolute pico top of how high XRP could get. And that gets you near $10. Maybe it's 8, maybe it's 9, 10, 11, 12. Anyway, that area. But not 100, not 50, certainly not 589, 1,000, 50,000, or 120,000. But about $10. The most simple thing to say is, hey, we talked about Bitcoin for years. It ended up nailing it on the pinpoint button. We talked about Ethereum for years, and it ended up nailing it on the pinpoint button. That's interesting. That can't be ignored. It wasn't just one asset. It wasn't just one crypto. It was two cryptos, and it was the top ones. Little do people even know that Ethereum Classic did the exact same thing, perfectly nailing 4.236 in 2021. So to say that seems like a reasonable level based on how this market has been behaving sounds logical to me. And based on how the market has been behaving, regardless of narrative, regardless of use case, regardless of how many people are YOLOing and how great anything sounds, that seems to consistently be the top of the market. For that, regardless of anything else, that has to be my target no matter what. That's as high as it can go, because that's just what this market's consistently doing for these assets that have been around for a long time. I could not in any way reasonably speculate higher than that. But now the question comes, is there anything else on the charts that can give validity to that actual price ever getting reached? Or are we doomed to torture for forever and we're never going to get out of here? And that's it. Well, I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge, when does the price of XRP actually move? In our community, there's a tremendous amount of speculation, whether that is actually honest speculation or it's just good for videos and keeps engagement going while the price is stagnant and boring and we're trying to get through the case. A lot of times we put values, or people think of values and price action occurring based on events that are going to happen in the future. But over the course of the last 10 years, which is how long XRP has been in existence, there's unequivocal evidence, which means undisputable, you can't argue it, that the price of XRP moves with the rest of the market and moves at very specific times of when Bitcoin is doing certain things. Every bullish impulse for XRP, all of these bullish impulses that we see for XRP are occurring at very specific times on the charts. So I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge these and then recognize as well that we also had a catalyst of a black swan emerge at this exact time period, and the conflict of that, and why I created a video titled How the SEC Hurt XRP Investors at Just the Right Time. So in order for this price to be considered and for when that price could actually end up happening, I think we have to look back through history to understand where we are right now and how XRP's price behaves, in that it historically does not give us any warning signs before it goes, and it usually is boring and torturous until the very last second when suddenly it starts moving. But there do consistently seem to be moments in time where that price does end up moving. So we're going to try to isolate that on the chart. Some people will like this, some people won't. Some people do live in a dreamland of all the money, of like $1,000 valuation per XRP. This will shatter that. But if $10 per XRP doesn't like get you excited, don't know what to tell you. It certainly excites me. But we will go through this very quickly to show the moments in time which XRP's price moves and how it moves with the market. Historically, there's two separate times where the cryptocurrency market will move together, or we'll see something like an alt season. One, Bitcoin's top into a retracement, and two, when Bitcoin is breaking into a new all-time high after a multi-year bear. This historically is when these alt seasons have occurred. We could see this if I even add more assets to this screen. I'll dim that down a little bit. And there we go. I've added another 8 assets in here so we can see those together, like Litecoin, Dash, Tron, Dogecoin, IOTA, Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, and Monero, that you can clearly see all of these are moving together at the same time shortly after Bitcoin breaks out into its all-time high. This is alt season number 1 in 2017, and nobody was left behind. Everybody went up together into massive bull runs. And purple right here, thicken it up a little bit, that is XRP. Nothing specific happening with XRP or Ripple that causes this. This is the whole market moving at the exact same time, and then all of them peaking at the same time. And notice how every single one of them go into this like slowdown in here during this entire time period, except for Bitcoin, which continues its grind. And then right here at the end into Bitcoin's retracement, what happens with everybody else? Every single one of them, once again, goes surging to the upside. Nobody is left behind. Everybody goes on a run together, including XRP in the midst of all of it. So the blatant obvious fact is that when XRP's price moves, it moves with the rest of the market. It moves during moments in time where the whole market is moving together. There is no bull run for XRP that actually occurs in an isolated manner. Even when we look back to 2013's price action for XRP, where is it peaking? It's peaking into Bitcoin's retracement right in here with this big surge happening in here at the Pico top of Bitcoin once again. And not to mention, look at the rest of the market. It's doing it as well. Not isolated to XRP, not due to something use case wise with XRP, the whole market. So we see tops and retraces that are causes for the whole market to move, which is when XRP moves. And we see breakouts into new all-time highs for Bitcoin after multi-year bears is when the whole market moves and when XRP moves with the market. Now I'm going to take XRP off the screen here for just a second, and we're going to understand why this video was made on how the SEC hurt XRP investors at just the right time, but to show that the cryptocurrency market continued to act the way it acted in 2017 until that moment in time of the SEC action. What did we see in 2016 and 17? It was once Bitcoin was able to break through its all-time high, this is the moment in which the altcoin market started running. If we start from that moment of when it actually hit the all-time high and head down, we can see the whole market started to move together. You could see Dogecoin goes and takes off. You could see all of these coins taking off, and you can see Ethereum taking off right in here. And it may not look that dramatic for Ethereum right here. We're talking about hitting the all-time high back there in November of 2020. But the price of Ethereum at that time, on November 14th of 2020, was right here at $477. Then once Bitcoin cracks through the all-time high, we'll mark this spot, we can see what happens to the price of Ethereum. It goes skyrocketing. We go back to look at Dogecoin to see where was it at on November 14th, all the way down here at 0.0029. Bitcoin breaks through the all-time high and goodbye. Off and away it goes. So conditionally, as we can even see here in the market, this is when the alt season begins in the crypto market, is once Bitcoin can crack right through the all-time high. Why is that so interesting? Why did the SEC hurt XRP investors at just the right time? And it's because when Bitcoin truly got its pure break and actually really started to take off above that all-time high, it happened right here on December 16th. The confirmation of go time. Go back to December 16th for Dogecoin, starting right here. Boom, it's gone. Go back to December 16th for Ethereum. Boom, it's gone. So as we get confirmation of the breakout of the all-time high, once we get the first weekly candle close of the break, and the new week starts there on December 21st, what happens? The very next day, the SEC charges Ripple and two executives with conducting a $1.3 billion unregistered security offering, declaring XRP has been treated as a security. They allowed XRP to be traded on the open market for 7 years. And the day after, the weekly candle closes above the all-time high to trigger the altcoin market to go into an alt season, the SEC times their attack and hurts XRP investors at just the right time. And so while the rest of the market takes off into this moment of Bitcoin breaking out into this all-time high, as we can see the altcoin market all trending upward together, what happens at this exact moment in time? There is one that goes into a nosedive. Every single other one goes up. One goes into a nosedive right at the break of the all-time high. That's XRP. So if you want to call people from the XRP community crazy and upset for no reason and thinking they shouldn't have a reason to be upset, there's a legitimate reason to be mad. I do not buy into 99% of the conspiracy theory in the XRP community. I fully subscribe to that this was a timed attack, because we see the same thing happening in 2017 where everything goes together. But instead, at this exact moment, the SEC says, we're not going to let you participate in it. And of course, go digging into all the stuff with Ethereum and Jay Clayton and all that stuff. And you'll get an understanding of why people are so mad. And there's legitimate reasoning for it. So, but why do we have to point to that particular moment in time? And it's that we can see XRP was behaving in the manner that it was supposed to behave in regards to the rest of the cryptocurrency market at that time, as Bitcoin's getting ready to break into its all-time high. This is what we were having happen back in 2017. However, we had a black swan that did emerge out of nowhere, seemingly a timed attack at just the right time. So we don't have price action for XRP in particular following along with what the rest of the cryptocurrency market did, because we had the SEC suing Ripple, declaring Ripple has used XRP as a security, and then the exchanges all delisted XRP in the United States. So a big fat storm brewed all at the perfect time. And you can really see that when we have XRP, Ethereum, and Doge here all on top of each other, that this is where the SEC comes after XRP and Ripple. At that exact moment, it is the triggering event of alt season to take off. But then you move over here and you say, well, wait, what did XRP do right in here? It did what the rest of the market did at the same time too. Absent of another catalyst occurring, we could see XRP rises and peaks at the same time as the rest of the altcoin market, continuing to operate within the manner. So we could see it's still even operating within the manner that it's supposed to as Bitcoin gets to its all-time high. But then a timed attack comes in. The rest of the market does continue, but it impacts XRP. Move over to the next phase. You see the altcoin market peaking out here for most altcoins and XRP at the exact same time. So even when we remove the SEC and just say, was price acting with the market like it's supposed to act? Yep, it sure is. There wasn't some catalyst that was causing this reaction. We see that this is the type of reaction that occurs when we get back there. We see the price behavior acting in line with the rest of the market. So it's to assume, hey, this is just how the market reacts. There's no positive price appreciation for XRP that occurs outside of what the rest of the market is doing. So what you'll see a lot of out there is you'll see a lot of speculation saying, hey, if the price can be impacted negatively in that manner during that moment in time, then if Ripple wins and XRP is declared not a security and the exchanges relist it, could we technically see price surge due to that? And while theoretically anything is true from a theoretical standpoint, we have no clue. That's going back to still going with that whole speculation stuff of narratives and what could occur in the case of this or that, or a takeover of the world, or all central banks are going to use XRP to settle all the money. The Federal Reserve is going to buy back our XRP. It doesn't matter. You can go down the list. You can't quantitatively measure any of that. You know that element's there, but you have no clue if it's going to have an impact on price for XRP in particular, or does it give a green light to the whole cryptocurrency market? And instead of all the money in the cryptocurrency market flocking specifically to XRP because it's got clarity, but maybe the settlement or the conclusion and outcome of the case provides clarity for the whole market, and 50% of the cryptos out there get super clarity. And instead of the market all flocking to one asset, they now have a big, huge basket of them that they know are in the clear. So would that give XRP all the money, or would XRP run with the rest of the market, right? So you can go down that theory of different ways, and you could say, well, we had a catalyst that impacted it during a moment that should have been really exciting. Maybe we can have a catalyst that'll impact XRP individually. It's out of my control to be able to make any type of guess like that. The only thing I can do is look back to what has behavior been like throughout history. And, I put on my tinfoil hat and I say to myself, what I bet's going to happen? I bet the price is going to rise into a retrace, and that when we get to the top, that's when everything gets cleared out. That's where all the liquidity pours in, and all the people who invested at the bottom get an opportunity to sell all of it as the majority finally flocks into XRP. It's like what we saw with Cardano, right? Cardano went from 1 cent all the way up to $1.88. Off the lows, it had risen over 10,000%. And that's when Coinbase listed Cardano, when it was $1.88. Why wait so long? Why wait till that moment? Except for that all the retail investors got to pour into Cardano at the top. So my sick and twisted mind goes down the thoughts of, we could create the scenario that, price is going to skyrocket due to the catalyst, or is the catalyst going to come at the top? I don't know. So I can't predict that or say that there's any chance of me being able to accurately predict how that's going to play out or what happens if they end up losing. But what I can see on the history of the charts is that if Bitcoin's going into some type of retracement or topping or breaking into a new all-time high, that is where XRP can take off from. One thing we did not have during this whole fall has been a retracement for Bitcoin. So I can look through all of history and I can say unequivocally, the only time the price has risen for XRP has been when Bitcoin is signaling it and when the altcoin market is signaling it. So I can sit here and I can look at Bitcoin and I can look at the altcoin market to see if they are signaling that the altcoin market is about to rise. And if they are about to rise, that's historically a perfect time for XRP to, out of nowhere, just start firing. I could sit here every day and make speculative videos talking about the Ripple versus SEC case, even though I have no inside access to what the judge is doing, what the judge is thinking, whether or not they're going to win, they're going to lose, what the outcome is going to be in regards to Ripple sales were securities for XRP, however, secondary market sales or not, whether the timing of that's going to happen at the bottom or the timing of that's going to happen at the top. There's no point in me making videos about that because all I'm doing is sitting there and just making stuff up, literally just pulling it out of my backside. There would be no point in me doing any of that because my mind is so twisted and tinfoil hattish that I would see it to be much more likely that it's a Cardano style situation, that it's actually going to happen at the top. And that's where you get just massive amounts of liquidity of retail investors coming in to buy the top of the market, rather than it happening down here at the bottom and then firing all the way up. My mind says it's going to be the other way around. And that's just speculative. That's not quantitatively measurable. That's just a narrative, right? So I don't spend too much time even thinking about that, saying there's too many scenarios, there's too many things. What can I actually look at and say this is the best shot? And this chart that we're looking at on the screen right here, this is it. This is the data that we have. When you stop looking at and making up ideas and theories and breaking news and all this kind of stuff, it just comes back down to this stuff. We had a catalyst impact this. This right here gives the green light to make up any narrative you want and then say maybe, maybe, maybe. But it's then you go over here and then suddenly, wait a minute, we're right back into that same stuff all over again like we've always been. So at first, we're sitting there talking about this is as high as I think it can go because this has been what we've talked about for years at this point. It's what we talked about for Bitcoin. It's what we talked about for Ethereum. That's what we got on both of those. We've addressed the narrative situations. And the only conclusion that can be drawn from it all is to say that the rest of the market has to give us a green light. And if we get a narrative at some point, it'll be just as much of a guess as anybody's on what that is. Is the narrative going to come at the bottom to skyrocket price, or is the narrative going to come at the top and be the moment to dump? If you remember clearly, when Elon Musk and Tesla added Bitcoin to their balance sheet, that was the time to dump. It was the time of ultimate excitement in the market and everybody was convinced it was going to go higher, but it was the time to dump. So to say that it's going to be the catalyst is something I can't rely on. So the only thing I can rely on is to say, is the market setting up one of these elements where Bitcoin is going to go into a new all-time high or Bitcoin is going to go into a retracement? Because that's the only real data we can rely on to see how the price has behaved. Remember, it's unequivocal. It's non-debatable. It's no conspiracy. It's nothing to even argue about. XRP moves with the rest of the market. The history of the price chart shows it. Any and every price increase in XRP is happening with the market. So are one of those conditions coming up for Bitcoin that could catalyst the price upward because of those market conditions? And the thing we haven't had for Bitcoin during this whole time is any kind of retracement. We have seen the price of XRP rise from retracements before. Does it mean it will this time? No. But has it historically? Yes. So it says that if Bitcoin goes back into a retracement, this is one of the best shots to see the price of XRP rise. If for some reason XRP does not rise here, then we have to look to the rest of the market and see if there's a bigger problem. Is the altcoin market rising by itself, but XRP isn't? Well, things might still be okay because we go back through history and we know that most of the market will take off and XRP will sit at the lows being sad and depressed until finally it ends up going. So if the altcoin market is rising, that's great. If the altcoin market is not rising at all into this moment, then what could that possibly mean if the altcoin market isn't rising into this moment? Is that I think that Bitcoin's done. It's the most disagreed with view out there, that I think Bitcoin will go back into retracement and then that's the end of Bitcoin and then it's over. And so we're watching not just some little topping retracement that's happening here, but a much bigger retracement after Bitcoin has now completed its third major super cycle over the course of the last 13 years. And that the correction is going to go significantly deeper for Bitcoin, but a retracement that we end up getting is the big boy retracement. But should we get back into retracement levels and the altcoin market isn't breaking and we aren't seeing the Bitcoin dominance falling drastically, what does that signal to me? That maybe I'm wrong, that maybe Bitcoin is going to a new all-time high. And if that's the case, then we won't see XRP take off until that moment. So either XRP is taking off into this moment right in here, giving us the obvious signal that Bitcoin is not going to get through retracement levels and it is going to crash and crumble, or the altcoin market does absolutely nothing, including XRP, as we get back to retracements because, well, Bitcoin might be stronger than we think and we have to wait for it to get to an all-time high. So I get asked a lot, why aren't we focusing on XRP? And the cold hard reality is when you actually study XRP and you study the price behavior of it, it tells you you actually have to pay attention to the altcoin market and you actually have to pay attention to Bitcoin to issue one of those signals for it to go. Because the price appreciation has only occurred in those scenarios. So you see me talking about Bitcoin, you see me talking about Ethereum, you see me talking about the altcoin market a lot, because it all leads back to that. That's this condition, that's the scenario that you need to see for XRP price behavior. And I've been here so many years at this point. I've just hundreds of YouTube videos that I've watched on talking about all the different far-fetched conspiracies about Ripple and about XRP. And in the end, the only thing that ended up matter is this stuff. That's the only thing that ended up matter ever. And that still provides no guarantee that these things are going to be what sends the price up. But we do know that for the price to move up, those conditions were required every single time. So if we don't have those conditions, then we can't sit here and say price is going to skyrocket without them. We've had to have them every time. So I focus on those, saying those are important. If we get those, then I can start foaming at the lips about the price of XRP exploding, surging, new all-time highs. But those are things that are required in the market. And if you just spend a lot of time studying these charts, like I have for years, I've made hundreds of videos on XRP. Those conditions are required. So we're going to head back now. We're going to take a step back and say that's why those conditions are so important, because they've always been mandatory. But let me take all this off the screen. We're just going to leave Bitcoin's market cap, Ethereum, and XRP up on here. And we're talking about this price level, right? We're talking about XRP getting up there to like a $500 billion market cap. And is that a reasonable number? And would that really be as far as it could possibly go? Well, in history, we also know that the height that it's able to reach out to is really where Ethereum is. It's able to catch up to Ethereum, and that's about it. Once it gets there, it's not able to get any further. So if we assume that Ethereum is going to go into a retracement at the same time that Bitcoin goes into a retracement, where does that get us to? That gets Ethereum somewhere into this price region right in here. If we use a 702 retracement, use a 786 retracement, Ethereum's market cap gets there somewhere between 421 to $470 billion. But we have seen moments in time where XRP can slightly exceed what the Ethereum market cap is, but not by much. And that usually tends to be the end of the run. So we have some kind of confluence that also happens at this exact zone. If we're going to be having Ethereum going back into a retracement, then at the same time, you also have Bitcoin going back into a retracement at the exact same time. Well, then, hey, it makes sense. We've got the retracement scenario that's happening here in the market. And well, if we're going to go into a retrace for those assets, and then if XRP is going to do what those two did, well, it gets you out there to that 4.236 extension, and at the exact same time catches you up to Ethereum's market cap without excessively exceeding it. So again, these are like quantitative things I can measure. I can say Bitcoin did the 4.236, Ethereum did the 4.236. Can XRP do the 4.236? And would there be a market condition that would be favorable for XRP to do that? Like we've seen historically, that either Bitcoin's setting a new all-time high or going into a retracement. And well, if Bitcoin and Ethereum both go into retracements of like a 702 or 786 Fibonacci retracement, then reaching out to that 4.236 extension gets you the actual catch up to occur with Ethereum. And you may say, has there ever been this big of a gap between Ethereum and between XRP to play that type of catch up? I mean, has there ever been this big of a gap between Bitcoin and XRP to make that type of a catch up? And there certainly has before. We could see how big these gaps were here between XRP and Ethereum. And we can see how big this gap is here between XRP and Bitcoin. I mean, at one point, the gap between XRP and Bitcoin right here is a little bit over 2,000%. By the time it came to a conclusion, that gap was not too far. A gap was about 75%. Move over to today's times. Where are we at right now in regards to how far that gap is? That gap is about 2,000%. If Bitcoin goes back into retracement, settles in this area, and then XRP is able to get itself back into these levels that we're talking about in here, well, that only puts us 80% below Bitcoin. So these rises and these catch-ups and getting this close to Bitcoin, catching up to Ethereum have certainly happened historically. And when they do happen in here, they happen suddenly. And that's the hard thing about XRP, is having to sit back and wait and wait and wait. And then finally it just goes. I completely remember this right in here. I remember where Bitcoin ran from $2,000 right here, from $2,000 all the way up to like $19,000 right here. We're talking Bitcoin rose like 800% in here. And this is a long time period. It's from like May all the way till December. During this whole time period, XRP was still down 32% off the high. I think we actually looked at the real price chart right here. It was actually down about 50%. I've been through these torturous times before, and then like this is like the most famous surge of XRP's history is right here back in December of 2017, where in less than a month, I believe this was 23 days, we go from 20 cents to over $3 in like 23 days. But we had to have market conditions appropriate for that. And so that's really what we're having to wait on, is to say, is the market conditions approaching that? If we're going to follow the past and look for market conditions that are similar to past surges, if we're going to look for price behavior that's confluent with the rest of the market, all of it points to 4.236 extension, which also just so happens to have the confluence of getting back up to retracement levels for Ethereum as well, which is what we've seen historically of how far XRP can get until it just can't go anymore. And a lot of this, I know, it removes the sexiness of the narratives, it removes the excitingness of the mystery of taking over the world XRPs. But when we talk about all those things, they're just not based on anything that can ever be measured. And this is all things that I can measure. These are all things I can look for. I can look for rules. I can look for obvious things, seeing that there's no question every time the price is appreciating, it's happening with the altcoin market. Okay, what are the conditions for the altcoin market to rise? The conditions are either Bitcoin breaking into a new all-time high or going into a retrace. So if we can get a retrace, we could see, hey, are we getting our conditions met? Is the altcoin market rising? If the altcoin market's rising, boom, we've got the favorable condition for XRP to happen in here. Those are things that I can look for. I can also look for measurements of what we saw happen with Bitcoin and what we saw happen with Ethereum with 4.236 extensions, and also recognize the confluence of that aligning with hitting Ethereum's market cap in a retracement. All of those are reasonable. All of those are not outlandish. All of those statements are saying, this is what we've seen happen before. And then you have to say, well, is it crazy? Are the conditions like super different? I mean, you're looking at a big price. You're looking at a 2,000% difference between Bitcoin's market cap and XRP's market cap. You're looking at an 800% difference between Ethereum's market cap and XRP's market cap. And so then you have to say, well, is that different? And that's when we look back over here and we say, no, it's not. This was 2,200% more at that time. This is like 500% more at that time. We've seen this before. We've seen the catch-ups happen before. But the conditional requirement for those things to happen is to see the whole market move together. And that's really why you see me focusing so much on what's happening with Bitcoin, what's happening with the stock market, what's happening with the altcoin market. Are we getting favorable conditions? Because what do we always have to see for Bitcoin to set a new all-time high? We have to see the Dow Jones Industrial Average set a new all-time high. So if the Dow Jones Industrial Average can set a new all-time high, that's the green light for Bitcoin to set a new all-time high. And if Bitcoin sets a new all-time high, what does that tell us? It tells us that the altcoin market has the green light to go on a bull run. And if the altcoin market can go on a bull run, who does that give a green light to go on a bull run to? XRP. And so it all ties back together, but it's just having to have the bigger picture perspective of how the whole market all works together, rather than just focusing on this one asset and saying it's going to surge and explode based on this narrative. It's typically not, man. It's usually tied to the market. And we have to find all those relationships within all the market aspects to say, what's good, right? DXY falling, typically a good sign for the market. Dow Jones Industrial Average setting a new all-time high, typically a good sign for Bitcoin. Bitcoin setting a new all-time high, good sign for altcoins. Good sign for altcoins, good sign for XRP. So that's where I'm at, right? And that's where everything is. But it doesn't say, nothing in the market is happening yet to give the green light to XRP to be able to explode, which is why it's not like there's videos every day on XRP, but focusing more on everything. And it's really once we can focus on everything and understand how all the picture fits in together, that we can really understand the importance of all those other things. So I get asked all the time, BCB, you still think $10 for XRP? Definitely. It's the quantitative thing that I can measure out. It's the only thing that I can look at data and say, is there any confluence to pick that particular price level based on how this market has behaved? For sure. Does any of that change based on relationships with central banks or the case coming to a conclusion with the SEC, it doesn't. It still stays the exact same no matter what, because I wear a tinfoil hat and I watch these price charts somehow, some way stop, regardless of how good the narrative is, just like Bitcoin did after Tesla added Bitcoin to its balance sheet. So I don't subscribe to, you know, a lot of the buyback stuff, a lot of the crazy prices out there that are picked that are essentially larger than the entire market cap of the entire crypto market. I really try to go based on data, I try to go based on charts, and I try to explain them in easy to understand ways of how I come to that conclusion. There's no guarantee I'm going to be right, but you can at least see how I come to these conclusions. And in the bear market of 2018, 2019, 2020, showing the Fibonacci extensions for Bitcoin and for Ethereum, at that time, people were calling me a crazy moon boy at that time. Then once the prices actually got there, it was like I was the enemy for being like, okay, we're here, guys. I'm selling. It's like, no, don't, you know nothing, sir. And it's just how it works, right? The narrative was so good at the top that we were going to keep going, but it just didn't, right? And so that's how my mind works. I try to ignore the narratives, regardless of whatever comes and how things play out. You know, just it is what it is. But man, this video is silly long. I better stop rambling. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. It's been a while since we talked about XRP. This one was a doozy. This one was a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.